Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a very underrated Pokemon in the Open Great League, Serperior. Serperior received an update in the Season 16 balance patch. Aerial Ace now costs less energy to get to, and with this update, Serperior's true potential has been unlocked. Serperior has been dominating in the Play Pokemon Regional Championships, and now I tested it out in some practice Great League battles, and this thing is an absolute beast in Go Battle League as well. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out a strong meta team featuring Serperior. Hopping to the first match, and we see a very tough Pokemon on the lead. We lead Lantern into Cresselia, and Cresselia is a massive core breaker for this team. Cresselia does very well into both the Lantern and the Medicham, so I'm forced to stay in here as I'm in a very difficult position. I'm going to farm up and fire off the Thunderbolt just before Cresselia is able to make it to the Grass Knot. Thunderbolt will connect. Cresselia looking to overfarm, and they're going to fire off the Grass Knot before I'm able to make the Surf. Grass Knot will be lethal. Cresselia leaves this matchup very healthy, and I'm going to send in Serperior. Opponent is now going to pivot into Pelipper now that my Lantern has been KO'd. Pelipper has a flying subtyping here, so the grass moves are only hitting for neutral, but watch how well Serperior does in this matchup. They have enough for the Hurricane. I respect it, and it is the Hurricane, and now I can farm up and go for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant only hits for neutral here. Serperior is very bulky, but Frenzy Plant is still going to KO the Pelipper. In comes Cresselia. I'm firing off another Frenzy Plant. This will be lethal. Frenzy Plant now KO'd 2 Pokemon, and in the back, it's Dubwool. And now I can very safely send in Medicham. And Medicham in a terrific spot. Dubwool goes for the payback. Payback does quite a lot of damage, but Medicham is just too bulky. Medicham farming up and now going for the KO with the Psychic. Psychic will be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and to add insult to injury, I get the defense drop as well. They go for the Body Slam into the Medicham. They're at the back-to-back, but that's fine by me. I can let this go and finish the game with Serperior. So we had a very tough core breaker on the lead, but Serperior dominates the mid-game, and we take the win. Moving into the next match, leading Water Gun Lantern into Stunfisk. I have 2 better responses in the back, so I am going to save switch into the Medicham, and I'm met with Pelipper. Now the goal of the Medicham save switch is to check and see if my opponents have any flyers in the back. If they have flyers, the goal is to bait it out and then hopefully free up Serperior to sweep in the endgame. Here, I'm going to let this through. My opponent ends up going for double Weather Balls, and as you're going to see, this second Weather Ball barely does not KO, and now my opponent has to give up a shield or switch advantage. Ice Punch will get the KO. They don't want to get farmed down by the Lantern, and with switch advantage, I'm in a really nice spot here, as now I'm going to be able to put Serperior onto the Galarian Stunfisk. Serperior is so bulky, it's able to withstand rock slides for days. Obviously Earthquake is resisted, so they can't go for it, but look at the damage. It just does absolutely nothing. Oh my goodness. I'm firing off the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is going to get them low in the back. They have Golisopod, and you know what? Here's where the newly cheap Aerial Ace comes into play. I can fire off the Aerial Ace, grab a shield from my opponent. I'm going to farm up a bit of extra energy and now send in Lantern. Lantern will be able to absorb multiple charge moves from the Golisopod. They are running X-Scissor, so they are able to hit for neutral here. They're going to fire off another X-Scissor. X-Scissor will start to get the Lantern low. I'm farming up with the Lantern, and I'm firing off this Thunderbolt. They have to shield or they will get KO'd. Opponent lets it go. Back in comes the Galarian Stunfisk. Stunfisk is going to be firing off the Rock Slide, and at this point, I can just go for the 2 shield flex as Serperior will get the full Vine Whip farm down. Picking up a very neutral lead in the next match, Lantern into Defense Deoxys. And this Lantern is running Water Gun specifically because with Water Gun, it does significantly better into Gligar, and Gligar is definitely the top flyer of choice now that Noctowl has been nerfed. Thunderbolt will connect. I'm farming up. Unfortunately, I end up throwing on alignment there. Surf is going to connect, but giving them an entire free counter is just poor gameplay. That time, it was intentional. I was just trying to get to the Surf before they're able to throw their move. So, not a great display of timing in this particular match. But at this point, I'm just going to let this go, and I'm going to be sending in Medicham. In comes Medicham. My opponent is going to send in a Shadow Kanto Ninetales, and I'm able to make it to this Psychic. Psychic does so much damage here. Opponent is going to give up the final shield, but I don't really want this to see my Serperior. So, while I am going to let this through, because I'm expecting they're going to go for the Weather Ball, when they throw their second Weather Weather Ball, I actually am going to commit the shield because I don't really want to take those Shadow Fast moves. So I am going to be shielding up here. No Shadow Embers are going to be messing with the Serperior, and now I can get the KO with the Psychic. Let's see what they're trying to do here. My opponent, I'm looking to switch. They send in the Deoxys, and they're firing off the Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost, I can tank that, no problem. In the back, my opponent has a Venusaur, and again, this is where having Aerial Ace is just incredibly clutch. I'm going to be shielding up. I am just barely in a range where Sludge Bomb will KO, so I will commit the shield there. And now I'm going to fire off the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace hits for super effective damage onto the Venusaur. I'm going to look to overfarm as much as possible to make sure that I get as many Vine Whips as I can. And with the Vine Whips, the Aerial Ace will get the KO, and Serperior farms down Deoxys. We see a very neutral lead in the next match, Water Gun Lantern into Medicham. I'm going to farm up a bunch of energy on my Lantern, safe switch into Medicham to check for any flyers, and my opponent does have Charizard in the back, so I'm very happy that I safe switched, as now my Serperior will not have to face this in the end game. I go for the Psychic, that does massive damage, and now I have a decision to make. Do I want to try and make a play for switch? Instead, I actually decide to let this go, trusting in the fact that by baiting this out, Serperior should hopefully do well in the back. Back in comes the Medicham, they stored a ton of energy and they get to use it now. Psychic will connect onto the Lantern, I'm farming up and firing off the Surf. Surf, of course, not going to be threatening here, but Surf does deal some very solid chip damage. I'm farming up, making it to another Surf. Again, this will not KO, but it will get the Medicham deep into the red. Medicham is going to let that through. They're able to make the last second Psychic, and now it's Serperior versus whatever they have in the back. In comes Serperior in the back. My opponent has Gligar, and this is going to be interesting. Here, I definitely should have Frenzy Planted as soon as I got it, but unfortunately, I'm in a bit of an awkward spot now, where I think I have to bait if I want to try and win. So I bait with the Aerial Ace, I get the shield, and Serperior can do well versus Gligar, but it typically needs a small energy advantage, and I just don't have enough energy to win this game. As you're going to see, I can make it to the back-to-back Aerial Aces, but I would need the Aerial Ace shielded plus the Frenzy Plant to land to win the matchup, so unfortunately, we do lose that game. Mirror match in the next game, Lantern versus Lantern. We're both on Water Gun. I farm up a little bit of energy. I safe switch into my Medicham, and I'm again met with a Charizard. So the Medicham safe switch doing its job very nicely at baiting out the flyer, and here I'm actually going to shield. My opponent led Lantern. Lantern gets absolutely destroyed by Serperior, so if I take switch advantage, I should basically just win the game on the spot. Back in comes my opponent's Lantern. I'm farming up and firing off the Psychic. I really hope they shield here. It would be amazing if they shield. Unfortunately, they do not. So they're going to have a shield advantage, but the good news is their Lantern can't do anything against Serperior. Serperior is an absolute nightmare for Lantern. In comes Serperior. In the back, it's Umbreon. I'm going to bank a bunch of energy on Serperior and send in Lantern. At this point, I don't have to shield Lantern to win this game. I can just save my remaining shield for Serperior, and the game is over. Because Umbreon, it's very, very bulky, but so are the Lantern and the Serperior. So I can just continue to chip away at Lantern's HP here. I've farmed up past the Thunderbolt, but I'm going for the Surf. Because they have two shields, they have to start using them at some point, and they finally do as they're shielding up the Umbreon. This Foul Play will not KO. I'm going to be able to tank this, and I farm up, and I'm able to make it to the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt into the Umbreon is going to deal some very nice chip damage. I get the final shield. In comes the Lantern. Opponent trying to catch the Frenzy Plant, but I'm patient. I hold on to my energy. Look at that Thunderbolt do absolutely nothing. Serperior is an absolute beast. In comes the Umbreon, and now I can just fire off Frenzy Plants. Again, Aerial Ace is really nice if you need a bait move, but if you don't, then Frenzy Plant just hits absurdly hard. So we get the back-to-back Frenzies, and that will get the win versus the Umbreon. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Lantern into Defense Deoxys. Again, I can't really save switch right off the bat here because Medicham, unfortunately, Deoxys is one of its hardest counters. So if I do want to eventually save switch and check for a flyer, I'm going to need to get a lot of chip damage onto the Deoxys. And as you can see, these water guns are shredding through the Deoxys. Surf is going to get the shield. I'm going for Surf number 2. And now that I've gotten it this low, if I want to save the Lantern, I can. So I can send in the Medicham. They're firing off energy, and that's fine. Because typically, Deoxys leads are going to be weak to Medicham in the back, and my opponent is going to send in Dugong, so they are in fact weak to Medicham in the back. That is amazing. So Psychic is going to connect onto the Dugong. Dugong throwing one more Ice Shard and going for their charge move here. Dugong is going to go for the Icy Wind, debuffing the Medicham, and here I make a bit of an interesting play. I actually don't throw the counter there. If you notice, I stopped tapping on the Medicham to leave them at 1 HP. The reason being is I don't really want switch advantage. What I want is the one Vine Whip energy head start on Serperior, and in the back, it's Diggersby, and this game is very much over. My opponent got rid of the Medicham, but we have another terrific counter for Diggersby in the back. We have Serperior. Serperior lands the Frenzy Plant. That does massive damage. They can fire off the Hyper Beam here, but I'm able to tank that. In comes the Deoxys. I'm farming up, and now again, having that cheaper charge move of Aerial Ace is so nice. I can fire off the Aerial Ace, get the shield. We switch into the Lantern as Deoxys fires off their Psycho Boost. Psycho Boost connects into the Lantern. They get the farm down, but Serperior gets the Vine Whip down. Back in comes the Diggersby, and I'm able to make it to the Frenzy Plant here. And again, Serperior just so deadly as we get a 2-shield flex. We see a bit of a tough lead in the next match. Lantern into Shadow Alolan Sandslash. I'm going to farm up here, look to catch onto the Medicham, and my opponent is now going to send in Trevenant. So this is basically the worst case scenario opponent team that you can see. I fail to catch. I'm expecting they're going to have good counters to Medicham in the back, so that's why if I'm going to save switch it, my best bet is trying to go for a catch. But unfortunately, I don't get the catch, and this team as a whole is very weak to Trevenant. Fortunately, Trevenant is barely run anymore just due to the fact that it did get nerfed. But if you do see a Trevenant, it's going to be a pretty tough fight. I'm going to farm up to the back-to-back Aerial Aces here, and actually farm up to an Aerial Ace plus a Frenzy Plant. Because that way, Frenzy Plant, of course, is going to hit for massive damage onto the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Back in comes the Sandslash. Sandslash is firing off the Ice Punch, and I will commit the shield, and I'm going for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is single resisted here. It does quite a lot of damage. We see the no shield in the back. My opponent does have their own Medicham, and unfortunately, being down this many shields, I'm not going to be able to win this game. I was able to get the 8-slash very low, but to do so, I had to give up a lot of shields, and unfortunately, I just can't come back from that point. I'm firing off the Thunderbolt. I land the Thunderbolt, so I land the harder hitting move, but Medicham, as long as they play this correctly, which they are, can massively overfarm. Psychic will get the KO, and they have a lot of energy to threaten the Serperior as well. So they're going to be able to fire off the Ice Punch into the Serperior. That, of course, hits for super effective damage. I would need a Vine Whip farm down. I can't get it. They try and catch. Wait, I have the back-to-back Aerial Aces, but I'm too low of health. The counter that sneaks through will get the KO, and I fall just short of winning a hard counter game. Hopping into the final match, we see a terrible lead. Lantern into Lickitung. I throw a Water Gun and then save switch into the Medicham, checking for a Flyer, and my opponent is staying in with the Lickitung, so it looks like they do not have a Flyer in the back. I land the Psychic, that does quite a lot of damage, and now they're returning fire with the Body Slam. My opponent can win the Zero Shield here. They're farming up to the Body Slam. They bank the Body Slam for later, and they're going to send in Medicham. Medicham will get a nice counter down here of my Medi, as unfortunately, I can only make a Psychic plus an Ice Punch, and an Ice Punch is not going to threaten a KO. So I'm going to fire off the Ice Punch here. Ice Punch connects, but my switch clock is up. I can save the Medi for a potential catch later in the game, and now I'm going to send in the Lantern. Lantern, of course, doesn't have a lot of value considering there's a Lickitung with energy, so my plan is basically just use this Lantern as a gigantic meat shield and trust in Serperior to win the game. I'm looking for the farm down. I get the farm down. I leave with a Surf loaded to threaten whatever's in the back, but the Carbink snipes with a Tackle, and I don't get my move. This is a Tackle Carbink going up against Serperior. I'm firing off the Frenzy Plant with Serperior. Frenzy Plant doesn't one-shot. Carbink is monstrously tanky. But the good news is I definitely have an advantage in this matchup. They fire off the Rock Slide. I'm going to be committing the shield. The nice thing is I'm able to outpace as well. So I can overfarm quite a bit and then go for the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant into the Carbink. They have one shield remaining, and this is where they use it. They're firing off the Rock Slide. I'm going to be committing the shield. I do have to watch for a potential catch or a potential snipe with the Lickitung. I'm farming up, firing off the Frenzy Plant. We do not see a catch. Okay. I'm still not in Body Slam range, but it's going to be close. I'm farming up. In comes the Licky, and I get the catch of the Body Slam onto the 1 HP Medicham. Let's go. Serperior gets the Vine Whip down, leaves with the Frenzy Plant loaded. Frenzy Plant will be more than enough to KO the Carbink, and that is a good game. All in all, I think that Serperior is going to emerge as the best grass type to use in the Open Great League for this season. Serperior's extreme bulkiness, its ability to have Frenzy Plant, and now having a cheap coverage move in Aerial Ace, all in all makes it a terrific option, and considering that the best flying type is now Gligar, a Pokemon that takes neutral from grass, having something like Serperior on your team should be honestly a pretty good key to success. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.